Photos are performing so well across social media at the minute. Whether it's a TikTok carousel, an Instagram post, a YouTube community post, the thumbnails you're using for your videos, even your LinkedIn posts. It's become more important than ever to have a solid photo enhancement process. Now, I probably don't need to tell you that AI photo enhancement tools are incredibly powerful. And when it comes to you leveling up your photo content on social media, they are going to be your best friend. So I'm partnering with Adobe in today's video to teach you how you can use their suite of tools in their Creative Cloud to really bring to life your next photo post. Okay, so why is this so important? Clean, well-lit photos on your social media feeds make a huge difference to the amount of saves, impressions, and even the clicks that you get on your content. Now, Adobe apps such as Lightroom, Photoshop, Firefly Boards, and of course Express are some of the best AI tools for creators, fixing lighting, color, and tone all in seconds. No deep editing skills required, which is why I want to walk you through a full AI photo editing workflow. So we could take an average looking photo to a professional looking photo fast. If you want to follow along with the same AI image enhancement tools, click the link in my description so you can get access to Adobe Creative Cloud. All right, let's jump into the tutorials. This one is perfect for anyone who has an e-commerce brand, who's a content creator, a brand influencer, a brand ambassador, the list goes on. Basically anyone who ever takes photos of products, right? I think we all know that product photography is one of those things that looks really easy until you try to do it and you're like, this doesn't look how I thought it would look in my head. If you follow this tutorial step by step, you'll be able to create a very professional looking product shot. So for this section, we're going to focus on Adobe Express. So we're going to head into my Adobe Express account. As you can see on the screen, I've already got a photo that I want to use as an example. So it's basically just someone holding a water bottle, right? So whilst this photo is great on its own, maybe I want to remove the background so I can just separate the hand holding the water bottle and then I can use it in like promotional material and stuff like that, right? Assuming that I'm selling a water bottle brand. So all I'm going to do is drop it into my Adobe Express account and then I'm going to go ahead and click the background removal tool, and literally in like a second, maybe less, Adobe Express has removed the background. Now, for anyone who's not been in this like creative game for a while, you may not know how big of a deal it is that you're able to do that in just a few clicks. I used to spend hours when I was like 14 years old playing around using manual masking in order to achieve an effect like this. So it's pretty major. As you can see, the edges look nice and refined. One thing that I might want to do now is actually adjust the photo though, because without that backdrop, the photo actually looks quite dark. So I'm just going to head in the adjustment sections. I'm going to play around with the brightness first and foremost. I'm actually going to reduce the contrast ever so slightly and also just tweak some of the other adjustments just so that the cutout image can now stand on its own. What's really cool about Adobe Express is that you can automate the enhancement process, which means that you can automatically tweak the exposure, the tone, the clarity correction across all of the apps in the Creative Cloud. You may have noticed that I minimized the cutout and I moved it to the side. The reason why is because I was automatically thinking about what this would look like as a social asset. So like if I added text to the left-hand side of the screen, for example. Adobe Express really is one of the best AI photo editors for cleaner visuals, which always perform better for e-commerce and your social media posts, especially when you're doing paid ads. All right, let's move on to tutorial number 2. This one is all about portrait enhancement. So for this section, we're going to take one of the photos that I did from, I was going to say a recent photo shoot, but this was actually quite a while ago. And we're going to use Adobe Photoshop to really take this photo to the next level. So we're going to focus on Adobe Photoshop for this one. So let's get open Photoshop in Adobe Creative Cloud. So whilst this photo is a great one, it feels weird saying that about a photo about yourself, but you know what I mean? Like it's a decent photo. There are some tweaks that I want to make to it just to bring it to the next level. First thing I'm going to start with is the auto adjustment. So I'm going to click on the left-hand side, click on quick actions and go to the auto section. So all I have to do is click this button and it will automatically adjust the color, and I can even change the amount of adjustments I want, right? This is what it's like in its original state, which is lovely. However, it is slightly too warm for me. So I'm going to move the amount to about 50%, 51% will do. And then I'm also going to click on auto contrast and make some tweaks there as well. So if we move this to the 4 amount, I am actually like a big contrast gal. Also, studies have actually shown that photos with high contrast perform better as like thumbnails and social assets. So I'm going to be cranking up the auto contrast as well. There we go. And if I click this button at the top, you'll be able to see what the original photo looked like, which was like that. And now it looks like this. Great. Next thing I want to do is just play around with some of the tools just to amend the photo ever slightly. So if you click on the retouch button, you'll get access to loads of different tools, which allows you to do things like replicate parts of your photo using the clone stamp, remove part of your photo, etc. I'm really happy with the backdrop and the setting. I'm just going to use some of these tools to make some things pop. For example, I'm going to use the darken tool here and I'm going to make the brush size quite small, and I'm going to use it to make my eyes pop a bit, to make them slightly darker. Can you see the difference? And then I also like to use it on my hair just to make it stand out a bit more. You can also do things like use the lightening tool on your teeth or like the whites of your eyes, etc. I was having a good teeth day that day, so I think I'm okay. Also, you can use generative fill powered by AI as a replacement for the healing brush or the clone stamp. So in this example, I'm going to use a text prompt to remove my ring. I'm going to add it back in because I don't actually want it to be removed, but this is just for example purposes. I'll never forget a time where I did a keynote talk for a very big brand. And for this talk, they took one of my photos that I had not had retouched and blew it up so that it took up the entire back wall of their store. Guys, if I have a photo, I'll put it on the screen. It was insane. You could see it from different areas of Covent Garden in London, which is a very busy area of London. Like, I was having people I hadn't spoken to in years sending me photos of my giant blown up face on Instagram, being like, hey, I saw your face earlier today. And let me tell you, if there was ever a time that I wished I had retouched just ever so slightly, it was then. And then you can see it before and after. And I prefer the after. I think it looks a little bit more impactful and it's perfect for its use, which will be for a portrait photo. Don't forget that you can also do things like fixing the color cast of your portraits by adjusting the temperature and the tint. And AI will automatically lift the shadows and clean the highlights so that it's ready for you to use it as a thumbnail, for example. All of these tools, especially the auto enhancements, are perfect for your social posts, whether they're Instagram posts or part of your YouTube branding. By the way, in case you've forgotten, you can follow along with these tutorials by clicking the link in my description to get your hands on all of the tools included in Adobe's Creative Cloud. All right, let's move on to the third tutorial. We are talking about creative composites. So that's background replacement and generative fill. Honestly, two of the tools that I probably use the most, especially on things like my YouTube thumbnails. I love this one. There's so much you can do with these tools. So first up, I'm going to use the generative fill tool in Photoshop. This allows you to use a brush tool to specify what part of your image you would like to be filled and to specify what you want it to be filled with. So as you can see on the screen, I'm selecting like the right-hand side of this image. It's basically where my kitchen is in my house. And as much as I love my kitchen, I really do, sometimes I wish it wasn't there because I think it makes my background too interesting. And when you're creating images for a thumbnail, for example, you actually don't want your background to be too distracting because you want to pull focus to your face and to the text that might be on the screen. So as you can see on the bottom, you're able to specify what you want to change that part of your image to. And I specified a plain room, and you can just see all of the different examples it created. Like, it literally transformed my house. It transformed my house and showed me what it would look like if I had a plain room there rather than a full kitchen. Now, if you're not happy with those suggestions, you can actually request it to create more alternatives based on the prompt that you entered. You can also change the prompt as well in case you feel like you didn't quite get it right. Next up, and one of my favorites, generative expand. What this tool allows you to do is to expand your image beyond what you've originally captured. So this is so great for social assets where you're like, I wish I just had a bit more above my head. If you're thinking to yourself, you've never felt like you needed that, then I would challenge you to rethink some of your photos, because actually when you take photos of yourself out and about, the more space you have above your head, the better balanced the whole photo tends to look. And also when you're creating photos for your thumbnails on YouTube, for example, the more space to your sides and above, the more area you have to play with when it comes to text and enhancements and stuff like that. So I've got the original image dropped into my Adobe Photoshop and I've clicked on generative expand, and it's basically going to allow me to specify the space that I want this image to now fill. So I'm going to make a bit more space above my head. There's also space on all other sides, and I'm just going to click the fill button, and then just like that, it's going to fill and expand the image. Isn't that crazy? Like, look how much bigger that image now is. Now, there is a final tool that I want you to use as well. And this one genuinely blew my mind. This is going to be great for all of my business owners out there. This tool is called Generative Upscale. It will allow you to upscale the size of your image whilst retaining its quality. If you don't know what I mean, just follow along here, right? What I'm going to do here is click on 2 times. So I'm going to make it twice as big whilst retaining its quality, and click upscale. And the result is this image here. Now you might be thinking, okay, Jade, like, it looks like it's great quality, but what has it really done? If we click the before and after, you can see how big the image used to be. Can you see? Like, look how much bigger this image now is. And arguably, the new image is actually better quality than the previous image. To the point where you can now see some bags under my eyes, which I feel like you couldn't see on the original version. So I'm probably going to refer to the second tutorial in this video just to correct some of that, I think. This is really where you can get the brand level visuals without spending hours of your time editing. These kind of tools truly make Adobe Photoshop one of the best AI photo editing tools for high quality, professional looking images. So if you want to try some of the best AI photo editing tools in the game right now, use the link for Adobe Creative Cloud, which includes Photoshop, Lightroom, and Express via the link below. If you feel like hanging around, I recommend watching this video. It's all about my brand new Instagram strategy for 2026. So you can just steal it if you don't already have one. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I can't wait to see you in my next video.